The Magic really might be able to pull off this upset. After tonight, I am a believer in the Magic. This was as straight up a playoff game as you'll find, and the team that played better won tonight, full stop. Shots weren't falling for either side, but Orlando at least has more guys capable of creating that offense. For Detroit, Cade and Tobias Harris are really the only two guys that are able to create their own offense. And with the Magic packing the paint as much as they were daring the Pistons to shoot threes, which is something that they'll absolutely love from this perimeter challenge Detroit team. Neither team shoots the ball well from three. The advantage for Orlando, though, is they get to the free throw line at a much higher clip. So in a game like this, where shots from three aren't falling for either side, the edge is going to go to Orlando. After their lights-out shooting performance in Game 3, the Magic did revert back to more normal percentages from deep. Jalen Suggs went 1 of 11, which is abysmal, and Desmond Bane was again really the only guy for the Magic that I trust with the three ball. For them, though, 25% shooting from deep was enough to win this game, and for me, that is the biggest indicator that they can win this series, that being that when both teams are forced to get their points in the paint, the Magic are simply better at doing that. Again, they get to the free throw line way more than Detroit, so they just have more consistent offense, especially against the Detroit team that has been struggling in the playoffs. Still has not found a way to get Jalen Duren going, and the bench really has not shown up in any meaningful way for the Pistons. Had the Pistons come out the gates a little bit better, they could have pulled this one out, but these games are feeling a bit like a race to 100 points to determine the winner, or just whichever team gets the closest to that benchmark, and Detroit's early turnovers put them in a hole and meant that even once they raised the deficit, they were ultimately going to end up losing the possession battle over the course of the entire 48 minutes, and so they would have had to make up for it with their shooting, which they've simply been incapable of doing this series. The Pistons having 20 turnovers to the Magic's 10 and still only losing by 6 points is a cause for some hope, and I do think that Detroit can win one more at home. But the Magic flat out look like the better team right now and have been the more physical team in a series that has been decided by physicality and points in the paint. So I ultimately don't see Orlando blowing the 3-1 lead. I do think that the Pistons win that next game at home. I think it would be a very tough loss for them. I do expect them to come out the gates a lot better. I don't expect Cade to have as many turnovers as he had these past few games. I don't know if Jalen Duren gets it going more in Game 5 at this point. He's had 4 games and hasn't really been able to find anything. Game 4 was slightly better for him, but still not at the level the Pistons need. But I do think that they squeak out one more win at home before Orlando puts this away, and in Orlando at 6. It is a slight cause of concern for the Magic that Franz had to leave the game and didn't return with that calf injury, especially given his injury history this season, but hopefully that is just a one-game thing, and Jamal Cain did a superb job in his stead, closing the game out. He was drawing offensive fouls, pulling down offensive rebounds, and just generally being a nuisance on defense, and Detroit had no clue how to deal with it. Jamal Cain is not a guy that has been getting huge minutes in Orlando's rotation, so it is likely that Detroit didn't really have a game plan to deal with him, and he was just being a pest on defense. Anytime a 1 seed loses to an 8 seed, it does necessitate a close examination of why it happened, and although there are big reasons in terms of roster construction, like Cade not being surrounded by enough shooters or guys capable of creating their own shots and taking the pressure off of him, you do also have to wonder if the coaching was an issue. JB Bickerstaff has done a great job of turning the ship around, and I'm not proposing he get fired. But this season after he left Cleveland, we saw that team win 64 games and become the 1 seed in the East. So it does make you wonder if he's best suited at dragging teams out of the mud, but not really helping them ascend to that next level of contention. I don't think he'll be fired, and I wouldn't want him to be. I do think more of the issues for this Pistons team lie in the direction of roster construction. Tim Hardaway and Malik Beasley were big losses this past offseason, and Duncan Robinson hasn't fully filled those shoes. Plus, I think they vastly overperformed during the regular season by grinding out a lot of ugly wins, which is certainly a useful skill and identity for a team to have, but does not necessarily translate to ability to win playoff games. Ultimately, I have this one ending in 6 with Orlando moving on. It's kind of nuts. We might actually be looking at a Raptors-Magic second round matchup, but we will have to see how Game 5 in that series shakes out. On the whole, though, I don't think that the Magic will blow a 3-1 lead. They have simply looked like too good of a team since their blowout loss in that first playing game. They look like a whole new team. As long as they can stay healthy, they should be able to just win one of these next 3 games.